Well, 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 who could possibly have predicted this? As Disney elects to join Netflix in going on the search for AI specialists. And they are willing to pay them the big bucks to get it as well. Inevitable is the word of the day, in case you were curious. As, again, like we talked about several times, this is an existential crisis for both the actors, the writers, and the studios have, well, a lot more money to spend on the future than the actors and the writers do. And this is in large part also because they are beginning to see what the future is looking like. Amid the ongoing actors and writers strike, Disney has begun looking for workers to fill newly created AI-focused jobs at the studio. And they are doing this with a degree of subterfuge, a bit quiet, as they don't want to antagonize their opposition too much just yet, as they might still need them. But it's becoming very obvious that their jobs are, well, eminently replaceable. In fact, a recent Disney major investment, Secret Invasion in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has provided the perfect example of how an AI really genuinely cannot do much of worse of a job, as they have violated one of the fundamental principles of any superhero universe, namely tension. So, let's talk about this a little bit here, because we've discussed the whole writers and actors strike ad infinitum at this point, well, 2 or 3 times, I'll probably get back to it again, but this is an excellent opportunity to highlight an example of just how bad writers are today. So, Secret Invasion, in case you are unaware, is a currently ongoing Marvel Cinematic Universe television show, which is based on a series of comic books, which I have actually read, as I was a big fan of comic books back in the day. So, the idea was that the Skrull, an alien species, has planned an invasion of Earth for a very long time, and in order to do so, they have replaced a great deal of heroes with Skrull infiltrators, as the Skrulls are shapeshifters. The big gut punch twist was that a bunch of the heroes you thought were alive are actually dead and had been replaced by these evil spies, and that would allow for a great deal of betrayal moments where somebody you thought you knew and trusted could suddenly just, aha, I'm an alien, and, carry out their evil plans. It's a good idea. The only problem is that in a universe where people die and come back to life again on a near weekly basis, the entire idea of, focusing the plotline around the mortality of characters is a bit of a flawed premise, but still suitable enough, But the error they've made here is that they have taken Gear here, who in the comics, by the by, was a minor side character with no plot whatsoever, and so, since it is indeed the current year, she has now become the primary antagonist and the most powerful character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh yeah, and they're not exaggerating. So she has gained the powers of Steve Rogers, Captain America, Thanos, Captain Marvel, Hulk, and Thor. Plus all of these other ones as well. Okie dokie then. In the actual comic, there were Super Skrulls, but they only had the powers of the Fantastic Four, as in all of them. So the powers of the Thing, Reed Richards, Sue, and the Human Torch. I've actually... Mr. Fantastic, that was his name. What was Sue's name again? I can't even remember at this point. Anywho, that was superpowered enough and made them a massive threat towards the heroes, but it was still contained. Because what you, of course, need to be thinking about in a situation like this is, how are you eventually going to defeat the villain? And how are you going to make it plausible? This is how whenever Superman is fighting anybody, he's always getting his ass kicked for a while, because you need to introduce, no matter how ridiculous, the idea of tension into the story. Because if Superman simply ended every fight by circling around Earth 233 times to build up, speed to the point of unbelievability, and then simply annihilate his enemy into atoms with a single super-speeded punch, it would kind of undermine the entire setting, wouldn't it? Would make the fights a little bit pointless. And that is exactly what they've done here. This chick is now on a completely different level. 5 completely different levels, as none of these characters should now, in any due reasonableness, stand even the faintest butthole's chance at a serious gangbang gay convention of surviving for even 5 seconds against her. Again, Captain America, Thanos, Captain Marvel, Thor, Hulk. One of these characters would be a major threat to practically any of the others, but all of them combined? And the issue here is that the writers haven't been thinking about what they've been doing. As this article here from Bowding Into Comics says, Secret Invasion director appears to admit series was cobbled together in the editing room even as they were releasing new episodes. So they have failed at planning and writing here. And this is one of the key weaknesses of the AI as well. You see, AI has a hard time remembering what it's already written, and so establishing rules and internal consistency is very hard for the AI. Take, for example, the Star Wars rules that there is sound in space, because it's cool to hear, like, the TIE fighters go like, meow, through space. So they figured, okay, that's a rule now, but that also does mean that now everything needs to make sound in space. Fair enough. But that is a rule you must then follow. The AI is bad at that. The AI might make the TIE fighters go meow at one point and then they're just silent the next, because it doesn't really have the capability of to build up a solid frame of reference, at least not without a lot more work and effort put into it. This is also the problem with stuff like this. And this absolutely sounds like something an AI might write. It's like, okay, make me like a super dangerous villain person. And the AI goes like, okay, beep boop, just give her like every power I've been pre-programmed with. So a bit of Thor, a little bit of Hulk, a little bit of Captain America, you know, just throw that in there and see what happens. Without being able to realize that, of course, breaks the entire gosh darn setting into tiny screaming pieces. And now, if you're going to actually be able to fight this character, you are going to have to come up with a contrivance that will be blindingly obvious. You will have to have this character either, I don't know, leave off into space because it's like, well, I don't want to fight anymore, or having them just forget about half their powers and be defeated somehow, or you're gonna have to come up with an obvious Deus Ex Machina or a MacGuffin, like, oh yes, I'm a black Nick Fury person, I've figured out a vaccine against this. You just shoot the person with this vial of bullshit and all of their powers will just disappear. And it'll come across as absolute ass. And you could have gotten around this by so many different things. You could have it be a temporary injection, for example, that has a random % chance to give you certain powers. That would put the person on the back foot. It's like you have no idea if you're getting the powers of Steve Rogers or Ebony Maw, whoever the hell that is, or Abomination or whatever. Okay. That'd be interesting. Or you could have it last for a limited amount of time. Or you could have it like start mutating or going out of control, so you have to reset the dosage at given times. There are so many ways you could write in weaknesses to this, which they've simply kind of elected to not do. This is a classic AI mistake committed by a paid professional writer. Again, it's no wonder the major corporations are beginning to look around and go, okay, so you're telling me that I could replace my entire writing staff if I put money into this new innovative thing now? Even as, mind you, the writing staff is already refusing to work. Yeah, it's not exactly a big brain decision, is it? You can either choose, and this is the problem, it's such a stark contrast. You can either choose to make something, and it's new untested technology, maybe it doesn't work, maybe it's fatally flawed, who knows, maybe it will never be fully functioning, it could happen, or you could not produce anything because the people you need to produce it are currently telling you to go and ride a big old fantasy alien PP. Difficult choice, I know. Literally. This is the key core issue here, right? Again, the actors and the writers have come to the realization, the self-induced delusion, honestly, that they cannot be replaced. And so they have placed the studios in a position where they can't do anything. Now, normally, this would be a major power move, because if the studios can't do anything without the rights and the actors, which they can't at the moment, then, well, checkmate, sir. What are you going to do? You can't stay in business like this, so you're going to have to come to the negotiation table, and you are going to have to fulfill a lot of their demands. But that is, of course, working under the assumption that the actors and the writers cannot be replaced. And, okay, broken clocks, right once a day, wrong the rest of the time. Netflix alone, hardly the avatar of sound financial decisions. They investing in AI could be a fluke, could be an idiot thing, could be a simple, limited incident. But Disney following suit as well. I don't know. That's 2 broken clocks now. Suddenly, they're right twice a day. Soon, I imagine, we're going to see more studios, and there's going to be more clocks than hours in the day. And the other thing, too, is, of course, once one studio comes up with something that works, that can then be copied and translated over onto other studios. In much the same way that back in the day, every gaming company were making their own engines because they had their own needs, their own goals, their own visions, and their own opinions about how things were to be made. But these days, there's only really like 3 or 4 engines out there that are in wide usage. In fact, companies like Epic, for example, they've built their business not on making games, but on making an engine now. There's no reason to assume that an AI program wouldn't go much the same way, where there will be like 2 or 3 storytelling AIs, and people will buy licenses to gain access to this AI, or even to individual story modules. Like, okay, you want to make a pirate movie with elements of science fiction, for example, with likable characters and blah blah blah. And you go through the list of the AI characters and add in options and modules, etc. And then at the end, the company is like, okay, this is your solution module. It'll cost X amount of dollars to rent it out for so and so long, and we'll grant you, of course, the copyright to whatever you produce, blah blah blah. And there you are. You essentially have an engine custom made for your product. And it wouldn't even be that difficult to make in theory. The big question is how to get across, English, to get over problems like, for example, the lack of internal consistency. And there will be others as well, like, for example, the Amazon AI bricking itself when it tried to teach it the value of diversity. There are countless pitfalls in the way of AI becoming truly able to replace writers and actors, but with $2 billion corporations beginning to throw money at the problem, let's face it, it's probably only a matter of time. I'm looking forward to the future for the first time in quite a while. Maybe, hey, because when I was a kid, I was looking at movies and gaming and thinking like, wow, how amazing must this be in the future? And here we are, in the future. And frankly, I am disappointed. But maybe in another 20 years, I can look at my computer screen and go, make me Indiana Jones, please, but with young Indiana, fighting Nazis, getting ancient artifacts, and no female side characters. Thanks. And 5 minutes later, I'm watching the actual Indiana Jones 5. We can but hope, can't we? Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and may both actors, writers, and studios get most thoroughly railroaded in this strike. Have a good day.